Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and this is just a live stream to remember Shawn. Some of you probably know that I scattered Shawn's ashes on Saturday, and people sent me some words to say, which I did say then, but people weren't able to attend actually the scattering itself, so I thought I'd do this live stream to read out some of the words that people said to me to say. And if anybody wants to say something themselves, you're more than welcome to come on. The link is in the stream link is in the description, so you can come on whenever you want. So yeah, I'll just show you that this is the spot where I actually scattered Shawn's ashes. I wasn't, because of having to scatter things, I wasn't able to record the video of it happening. But this was taken just before I did the scattering, so that's where Shawn is, as it were. And so it was I did it at about 1:30 on Saturday afternoon. So before we start, I'm going to read a poem. As many of you will know that Shawn's favourite author was Clifford D. Simak, and Simak obviously wrote science fiction, but he did in fact write some poetry. And one of Shawn's friends, Louise, sent to me a couple of poems that Shawn were Simak's to read. Here we go. Hello, Deb.
Hi, Aaron. How are you?
Oh, very well, thank you. Yeah. So I'm just going to read one of these. These two poems. I was Louise, who is Shawn's friend, who actually I've got some things to read from her. She sent me two Simak poems, so I'm going to read one at the start and then one at the end. So just get the first one up. And this is called. Sorry, wrong one. It's called Summer Says Goodbye, and it's obviously by Clifford D. Simak, and it was published in the Fenimore Times on the 19th of September 1923. I stood on top of a hill, and summer seemed to say, "You best stay here for a while, I'll soon be gone away." But I said, "It's early yet, and the trees all wear their green." I know, and summer shivered, but there's things that can't be seen. They're floating around in the air and riding overhead. And last night the west wind seemed to play the war dance of dead. But I said, and summer stopped me, waving a weary hand, and we gazed a while together at the green and silent land. "It's awful hard to leave," said summer. "Of course I'll try to fight. But when I sleep, Jack Frost will come and leave the valley white, and then the grass will turn brown, and the leaves will turn red, and the birds will flock. The birds in flocks be sweeping the dull sky overhead. Then the nights will all be colder, and the clouds will pile up grey, and then I'll have to pack up my trunk and softly slip away." We were silent for a moment, watched the river silver glide. All the fields and all the fields and woods below us, a summer landscape wide. "It's rather tough," sighed summer, "but then I've had my fling. I've worked hard and played hard, and brought things that summer brings. I wrenched my torch from the springtime. I must relinquish it to fall. I must obey Dame Nature when she sounds for me her call. Must obey at once, and meekly nor turn to question why. When the bugle sounds a charge, I charge, retreat, I fly." We stood on that wind-swept hilltop, summer and I. Watched the river, silver, winding, white clouds floating by. So that was Summer Says Goodbye by Clifford D. Simak. Thank you, Ariane. Yeah, it was. It's a lovely place, Kinveredge. I would recommend if anybody's never been, if you ever come to the West Midlands and you see it, you get a chance to visit, do. And the rock caves nearby are a National Trust site, and they're really good. So with that, thank you, Steve. So I'll start with the things that people have said. So this first one is from Shawn's brother Dwayne, and this is from all the family. Anyone who knew Shawn well likely knew he did not believe in a god or any sort of heaven. He believed what Carl Sagan, astronomer, writer, and educator, said: we are all star stuff. In other words, we are made of material formed in stars, then blasted into the universe when the star dies. We are the old made new again. Today, as you scatter Shawn's ashes, you'll be returning some of that material to the part of the cycle in a place that is that's highly likely he would have believed appropriate. Shawn was an archaeologist for part of his life and valued places like Kimber Edge. The appropriateness of it is even greater because Kimber Edge is in England, where he lived for the final third of his life, making it the country he wanted to be. Making it the country where he wanted to be, sorry. All of his friends here in this new country of his, thank you for taking time to express your friendship in a very demonstrable way. Friends are a family of sorts, and with none of his brothers able to be present now, we appreciate that you can step in for us. If you need only one way to remember Shawn after today, read some of the books he talked about online, because books like our lives, in the end, are just stories to be considered by someone else, even long after they are over. Thank you again for coming and being a part of this moment in Shawn's story. So I apologise for the noise outside. Then the next is from Shawn's friend Evan. Shawn, I am honoured that our paths crossed, and I have had the opportunity to chat with you over the years. Thank you for reigniting my passion for reading and book collecting. Thought you might like to know, I recently read City. It was great. You've touched a great many people's lives in a positive way, and you are missed, and you will never be forgotten. God bless from Way Station Albany. Let the next journey begin, Evan. And now the next piece is from Louise, who suggested the two poems. So, I got to know Shawn when I was helping him do his online research in newspaper archives databases. Of course, his main interest was Cliff D. Simak, and was thrilled when I started to find poems written by teenage Simak, published in small local newspapers. Initially, he was going to make a YouTube video about it, but then decided he wanted to publish them in a small book along with his observations on all the poems' themes that carried on into Simak's later writing. Alas, he was never able to publish that book. After Shawn took a DNA test, I worked with him to analyse the results. Although he didn't have the energy to do much genealogical research himself, he was very interested in what I found out for him, and recalled incidents and stories from his childhood that supported what the tests had revealed. He got such enjoyment creating AI videos, and one of my most treasured mementos from Shawn is an AI video he made for me last Christmas of Louise Brooks, wishing me and other Louise a happy Christmas. Shawn was a good friend to so many people, and I feel fortunate for the brief time that I was able to be his friend. And I should say that I very much know what Louise is going about when Shawn was talking about the DNA. Did joke to him once that he could have, using the research he did with his genealogical stuff, he could write his own the Standfast as the sort of sackets. Louis D'Amour doing those sort of series of novels. Actually, the next bit was what you sent to me, Gabby, in that short bit. So if you want to say something there.
Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't have anything sort of particularly made up to say. I mean, I think I sent you a couple of words if you were going to be talking on the day. It's just continue to miss he's a lot, as well as his friendship, the wit and the wisdom, and although you could see how funny he could be sometimes on video, he was even funnier sometimes just in those private chats as well, where maybe you could let loose a little bit more. So yeah, everyone saw a certain side of him on screen, and then off screen there were even more sides to him because people would talk to him about their favorite kind of literature, which he would know all about. He definitely wasn't stuck in a rut with, or science fiction was probably there at the top, but not by much, and there was just so much else besides. But I mostly just remember sort of, well, I suppose as time goes on, you remember the fun times a bit more. Obviously, there were conversations. You knew he wasn't well. And then that's you sort of listening to him and, sort of letting him talk it out. But more often, it was the fun stuff.
Yeah.
And, certainly earlier on, it was all of the fun stuff. I think he would really have appreciated what you said. We had a get-together on Mark's channel a couple of months ago. And then I think Mark had said something like, you almost sort of feel like, he's sort of there, what he might have been if he'd been with us doing it. And you sort of like pointed behind you. You said, well, we can't see it because it's out of shot, but the urn is just there. So technically he was. I think he would have appreciated that sort of as much as the rest of us. It continues to be a shame. Continues to think about him, but there you go. We're reading Clifford Simak books every month and have been for the last 6 months, probably. We're continuing that series that he started over on Scott Danielson's channel now. And, we're going to be reading Simak for quite a while yet. So that and plenty of other things that he passed people's way. I think the amount of reading that he's probably encouraged or engendered is considerable.
Yeah, absolutely. You mentioned earlier Shawn's sort of interests. They were really broad. When I was up there moving the books, there was an entire bookcase dedicated purely to African history, and another book. There was an entire bookcase or 2 bookcases to just essays and books on books and things like that. He really did have a huge, broad interest in things.
He loved his, was it Heiklet and the Royal Geographical Society novel? You would have seen all of these, I'm sure. He had a whole stack of those. I think it might have been Royal Geographical Society or something very similar.
Yeah.
I remember, I think he did a video on that. I remember he sort of gave me a call the day they turned up. He was absolutely, he was cock-a-hoop, all of these things that had arrived. And I'm sure you've had this before. You'd have a long conversation with him at some point, maybe in the afternoon, where he'd explain to you in detail what everything was.
Yeah.
And then, a couple of hours later, there'd be a video. And it's, oh, yeah, here we go. I know all of these now. But, the enthusiasm did not diminish.
Yeah. And that enthusiasm was there, as you say, right to the end. I mean, when I got there, I think in the first 2 days, about 4 books arrived, and they were one was, I think, 2 were on African history. One was a comic book called Ministry of Space, and then another one was, I think, a collection of essays. So you just see.
Yeah, well, I mean, not only things he was getting, but things people were just sending to him as well. I think people that knew that they were going somewhere where they would be appreciated.
Yeah.
And of his book hauls, the one where it's a surprise book haul, that he hadn't been expecting, they were the most fun.
Yeah, I remember there's one book haul he did when I was up there, and so I was sort of getting the books out for him. And there were all science fiction paperbacks, and they were normal sort of Simak, A. Van Vogt, like that. And then I picked up one, Dewey Johns, which is the Biggles author.
Biggles, yeah.
Yeah. Except this one was the science fiction series he'd done.
Yeah. I've seen those before. Yeah, I haven't read them. I'll put my hands up there. I've read a couple of Biggles, but I've never read any of his sci-fi. But yeah, it's all a little bit sort of before Dan Dare, but in that sort of vein.
Yeah, and I remember
It's just Biggles in space.
Yeah, I remember I was surprised by it, and then after we did the video, me and Shawn spent about an hour talking about it because Shawn, he hadn't read. I think he'd read one or two of them, so he's just explained to me all about it. It was just brilliant. I mean, I remember I think the first time I ever met Shawn was when he was back in Bedford and he was packing things up, and I happened to tell him that my maternal granddad did jury duty. And the case he was on the jury of was a thief who got caught breaking into a house because he left his bag of tools there. And inside his bag of tools was also his snooker club membership card. And when Shawn then asked me a question, the exact same question I had asked my granddad when he told me it, was the thief's surname Timson by any chance? Because based on Rumpole the Bailey.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, just he Shawn with a store of knowledge about pretty much most things.
Yeah, I mean, and towards the end, that was frustrating him when he knew it, and it would come to him eventually. But sometimes it was just taking a little while longer to find the words. But despite that, he would go on and do a live stream most weeks.
Yeah,
I mean, sort of possibly the bravest thing you can do on YouTube is to go live about the net, and plow your way through even especially solo stuff as well.
Yeah,
when it's just you talking. If you're talking with someone else, that's fine. You can sort of play off each other. But he would just turn it on, start talking, still be doing it an hour later, which is it's a skill I wish I could emulate.
And I should say he was a really great guest to have on the live stream. Because remember, just before Christmas, I did one on Dracula. And I told Shawn all I was going to do. I said, you can come on if you like. I'll send you the link. So I will if I feel well enough. About 45 minutes in, he comes on. And I was only thinking of doing the live stream for about an hour and a half. We ended up going, I think, close to 3 hours just talking about Dracula.
Yeah, there was certainly a lot of stuff he would love to have been doing as well. I mean, he was going to go and do his own sort of science fiction project this year. He was, when I was on my way to a couple of bookshops, he was trying to get me to find if they had any of the original Just William books and bits like that. He wanted to do something on that whole sort of the old-fashioned school days as well. That another thing that interested him, which given his own schooling experience, wasn't a particularly happy one. Was an odd choice, but there were still lots of plans, even though he knew he wasn't well enough to do them at the time. He was storing those ideas up.
I'm just going to go through some of the comments. So just a second. Oh, thank you, Steve. Thanks, Pete. Thanks, DK. Hello, thank you for all you've done for Shawn's in his passing. My condolences to all of you that were close friends, Steve. Oh, thank you.
Hi, Jim.
Thanks, Jim.
Hello,
Mark. Yeah. So what I'll do is I'll finish reading off the comments here because there's only one left. Just a second. We just put him down. So this last bit is from Vic, who was a subscriber of Shawn's, and he helped getting things moved out of Shawn's in January. As you move on to your next chapter in your life, I am sure that you will have the same impact on people as you have had on this plane, educating the wonders of the world through moving pictures and print. using your vast knowledge for good and betterment for all. Likes and views do not reflect the impact you made, but people here and the ones who still remember your name, still mention your name, know you made a difference in their lives. My late father-in-law said no regrets. He told me he did everything in life and knew his time was coming, but he was leaving with no regrets. I am sure that you're already educating and making a difference above, and you moved above with no regrets. Don't worry, if there's another chapter or two you did not finish here, you can carry on reading chapters to your new audience. Your curtains never came down. We know your show goes on. No regrets, Vic. So that's everything that was read at the scattering. Thanks, Gareth.
Hi, Gareth. And yeah, I mean, I suppose that's the thing. That his show does go on. It's all still up there.
Yeah,
that's we've still got all of those videos. And it's unlikely that people have seen everything. So there'll be something there of interest. I mean, I've still got to finish all of his sci-fi reference series. I think that went on for weeks. I sort of sit there making notes sometimes, but I've still got a couple of those to go through. So I sort of don't want to watch them all.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I don't know how long these things stay up for. I hope it's for a while yet.
Yeah, as far as I can tell, with YouTube channels, they go on until I don't think they've been, unless there's a legal reason for them to be taken down. They don't get taken down. I don't think. So I think Shawn's channel will, with any luck, be there posterity.
Yeah, excellent.
Oh, thanks, good bit. Yeah, it's been really strange with him not being there.
Yeah.
Because it was him and Mark that sort of inspired me to come on to start my channel. And so him not being here is just,
Yeah, I mean, he's sort of one of those sort of prime movers, wasn't he? He had a lot of time for everybody, to sort of G people along, to make them excited what they were excited about. It was always good to get a call from him, and then you sometimes you knew you were going to be there for the next hour or so on Voxer. Like sort of like old radio hams, with walkie-talkies and what have you. But yeah, that was quite. A couple of times, sort of like, well, let's just ditch this. Let's just hop on to StreamYard, not record it, but just so we can have an actual conversation.
Oh yeah, I know. He used to call me up. We used to call each other once a week, a couple of times a week. And I know if he called me, it would be at least 2 hours. We'd be on the phone at the very least. And I think sometimes it used to be on a Friday night, and he called me about 8 o'clock, and I'd be watching the clock because I wouldn't have had anything to eat. And I was trying to work out if it was still open. And I didn't want to stop talking to Shawn because wherever we talked about it was really interesting. So I was talking between, do you want to have chips or don't you talk to Shawn?
Well, it's. I mean, I'm going to have to go in a minute because, oddly enough, I'm having to go. Well, I'm not having to. I want to. I'm off to do a recording for some more vintage science fiction. So a little series that sort of, well, I had the idea and then fleshed it out over a number of calls with him. So that was it's another sort of miniature legacy there, I suppose. But I'd be reading vintage science fiction anyway. But I don't not read vintage science fiction now without him being at the back of my head. But before I go, I just want to say thank you to you for not only with the scattering, with sort of looking after his urn in the interim, but also what you did, not only after his passing and going up and sorting out all of that stuff, but also, when you went up and helped him move and all the stuff that you did in the interim as well. So, publicly thank you to you.
Oh, thanks.
But with that, I'm going to take my leave. So yes, just finally I say, everyone go and still watch his videos, because that's the best way to remember him, is him actually being there. And I'm sure you'll find something that you'll want to watch. So thank you again. Thank you for this as well, and I will catch you later.
I'll see you later, Gary.
Bye.
Bye. Just a second. Sorry. It's when you see him. Particularly when I'm on Voxer, he's one of the. I don't use Voxer that much, so his bit is there was pertinently. So I do have to catch myself sometimes. So try not to send him a Voxer message. He fielded questions on screen in my first live. He was really good at live streams. I remember I think the first live stream I ever did was on Shawn's channel, and he was really good about it. He knew how to sort of set you at your ease when you were doing a live stream. He was really good at that. Oh, thank you, Gareth. Sorry. I should say that there is a link in the description for StreamYard if anybody wants to come on and say anything. You're more than welcome. Oh, hello. Is it Sephiros today, or is it Todgerson? Yeah. So for people who don't know, this is the picture you see on the screen is where Shawn's ashes were scattered. A place called Kimber Edge, and I chose it. Because it's that where that picture is. If you turn around, it's obviously there's nothing there now, but it was the site of an Iron Age hill fort. And obviously, Dre mentioned in his bit that Shawn was obviously an archaeologist for the first time in his life, for the first part of his life, and that seemed apt for appropriate for the place where Shawn to scatter Shawn's ashes. For anybody who'd like to honour Shawn in a small way, what science fiction classics do you think Shawn would recommend above all others? Oh, well, certainly anything by Clifford D. Simak. I was introduced to Simak by Shawn from the Simaks I've read, and the ones I read were the ones that Shawn recommended as some of Simak's best. Obviously, The City, which is brilliant. All Flesh is Grass, which is a wonderful book, and it's of the science fiction that of Clifford D. Simak I've read. That is my favourite, and then of course there's Way Station, which is really good, and then there's Enchanted Pilgrimage, which is a fantasy novel by Simak, which is really good. Simak's described as a sort of pastoral science fiction writer, and he really does write landscape really well. And I think that in his science fiction, the landscape is described at his best by Simak from what I've read in City, but also Way Station, and particularly All Flesh is Grass. But Enchanted Pilgrimage really does get that pastoral element and that description of landscape and sort of the joy of sort of nature that's in Simak quite a lot, and that really does come out there. Oh yeah, Gareth's exactly right. Standfast is where you sort of read some science fiction for the first quarter, and I've been meaning to. I think I'm going to read some Simak as well. I might reread Enchanted Pilgrimage because I really do like it. Thank you. Yeah, so it's that sort of stuff. Yeah, and so I will go onto Gareth's channel, or put in Standfast into YouTube, and that should come up, and you get stuff there. It's sort of described there. And obviously there's the Pick and Whistle club, which is the live stream that Gavin was talking about earlier, that about reading Simak as well. So yeah, but Shawn read all sorts of science fiction, particularly classic, vintage and classic science fiction. So I would just, well, if you go onto Gareth's channel, or you go onto Gavin's channel, or you go onto Shawn's channel and just look at his videos, and look anything that's science fiction there, you'll get a real good sense of what or anything that Shawn would recommend. Because whilst Gavin and Gareth and Shawn had some different tastes, Shawn shared a lot of taste with Gareth and Gavin, so you'll more than easily find something from there to read. And of course, you can always, of course, start with Simak as Shawn's favourite. We've been going about half an hour, so I'm going to just, if nobody wants to come on, I'm going to sort of bring things to a close, just because it's getting quite hot, even though it's cooling down. But, so what I'll do is I'll read the second poem. So just a second. So this is from, actually this poem is from previous year. So the first poem was from 1923, this is from 1922, from the Fenimore Times. It's called Passing of Autumn. I started to find old Autumn, to trace his windy trail. I followed him over marshland and over hill and vale. I trailed him to the moorland, where geese were winging high, where the heavy air was misty and the autumn wind rushed by. I trailed him to the hill lands, where the ground was thick with leaves, where a little wayward autumn wind up in the top treetop breeze. I traced him over dusty fields where cattle eat their fill, and a little breeze was calling me from over another hill. I traced him in a lonely vale where pheasants flashed away, and all around me was an autumn breeze at play. I tracked him on and on, from eventide to early sunrise glowing, and always in my face the autumn breeze was blowing. At last upon a cold damp moor I found autumn lying dead, and his slayer winter stalking on ahead. And so that was another Simak poem from that one from 1922, as I say. So I think I am going to bring things to a close there. I'm going to take down the videos about Shawn's scattering, because obviously that's over, so that's also been sorted. But I will keep this live stream up, obviously, and there's a post on my channel with the picture if you would like to have a copy of it, just so you know where Shawn went. So with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will say goodbye, and I will see you all at some point. So, bye, ladies and gentlemen.